Here he is, everybody, at the Moody Center Live in Austin. It's Up and Adams with a newly extended Dior jacket wearing coach Steve Sarkisian, entering your 5th year. Can you believe it's your 5th year?
I can't believe it. This is it's gone fast, but it's been super fun. Like it's been awesome.
Congratulations on your extension.
Thank you.
How does that feel to have that taken care of?
It always feels good. You know, I mean, obviously we feel like we've done some pretty good things here. We've got great support. I mean, from administration, the Board of Regents, Chris Delcani, athletic director, the entire athletic department. And so to recognize kind of what we're doing is great. But more important than me, I think extending all the assistant coaches, keeping our staff intact, the continuity we have has been huge.
How much of that newly received extension is going to go for maybe like some courtside Lakers season tickets with Luka now? What do you think?
Did you know I was a Laker fan?
I did. I do my research, Coach.
Okay, I didn't know. You know, born and raised in L.A.
Yeah.
I grew up in Showtime. Magic, Kareem, Big Game, James Worthy, Byron Scott. And then I got the Kobe Shaq era, and now we went with LeBron. And now to get Luka. Last night was rough. I watched it. I was up late watching it, but I'm excited about it.
So courtside seats, yeah?
I don't know. I mean, courtside at Lakers games, that's pretty tough. But,
I don't know. Yeah.
I might know a few people still over there.
Love that. When you saw the Luka trade go down, where were you? I must know. Since you're such
I was
a
actually in California at the time, and I was like, typical Lakers, right? This is what the Lakers do.
You believe? I thought it was fake for like 7 days.
I did
wouldn't
at first.
believe it.
Well, when I first got like the breaking, you know, on social media, I was like, this is like a joke, right? And then I was like, holy crap, this is real. And Luka is like a Laker, and we didn't give up LeBron. Like, this is great.
What was more surprising to you, seeing that come across your timeline, or that Bill Belichick is going to UNC?
Maybe Bill Belichick going to UNC.
Did you believe that when you saw it? Be honest.
Well, at first, you know, remember, there was like some rumblings. I'm like, he's just kind of like, you know, kicking the tires to get an NFL team to come get him. And then he took the job, and then he brought Mike Lombardi with him. And I was with Mike Lombardi in Oakland in 2004. And so I was like, okay, they're really like assembling this thing to go for it. And I think it talks a little bit about college football, just kind of where we're at. You know, the fact that, you know, Chip Kelly, you know, goes to be an assistant coach with Ryan Day. Now he's in the NFL. Bill Belichick's now coaching college football. Matt Patricia is now a defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Just the idea and the thought behind, you know, where college football is at today is pretty exciting. You know, to think, you know, here's one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, is coaching our game now because he sees the value in it. I think is pretty cool.
There's a lot of inner college, NFL. You know, I work in the NFL, of course, and I heard your name a lot this offseason. A lot of teams interested, a lot of organizations, a lot of ownership. Why was it important for you to stay here, and was it not like a non-brainer, have to be here decision? I
really think I have the best job in America, and I know that's easy to say because I'm sitting in the chair now. But I said this to my dad, like 30 years ago when he talked about, okay, you're going to play, and I tried to bounce around and play for a few years. And then I said, I'm going to get into coaching. And he asked me then, what's the best job? And I said, the University of Texas, you know, and I went through all these reasons. And for this thing to go full circle, and I'm here now, and to build the program from where we were 5-7 in year one. And it was like tough, 6-game losing streak, no draft picks, like really poor. And then year two, we get to 8-5. Bijan goes in the first round. Like we're starting to build a little momentum. Year three, you know, we make it to the college football semifinals. We break the school record for draft picks with 11 draft picks. Year four, we go to the semis again.
Let's go, Coach. I want to run through a wall.
And check it out. We have 14 players invited to the NFL Combine.
14. That is a Texas record, by the way,
again.
Second most in the nation.
25 in the last 2 years. We've been to the semifinals 2 years in a row. So our work's not done, but I love the progress that we've got, and I get to live in Austin, Texas. So I got a pretty good gig right now.
I got to tell you, you're a very challenging interview to prepare for because there's so much to talk about. We had about an hour, one of our longest. I've been doing this show for 3 years, and it's like, do we do draft, Super Bowl, Xavier, Arch, Jalen? What should we talk about? The Combine, your success. Congrats on that success. I'll start here. I've been in Austin for 48 hours. I've been bragging that you're coming on the show, telling everybody, people at at Bangers while I was drinking my mimosa, that you're coming on the show, and it's just culture. First word.
Yeah.
Culture, culture, culture. You said that you wanted to have a culture of vulnerability.
Yeah.
That pinged my interest when I was doing my research. What does that mean, and why has that been so effective?
Well, I think, you got to remember, I deal with 18 to 22-year-old guys, okay? Probably the least vulnerable group that if you could pick out 18 to 22-year-old men, young men that are trying to figure out who they are, right? And they're in this transition of moving away from home, finding out who they are in a world of social media where it's like, put everything out there that's to make myself look as good as I can look, but in the inside, who am I? And I felt like the only way to tap into them, to really, develop those relationships, was to be vulnerable with them. And so far, so good. I've forged some amazing relationships with the guys in our program. I think it's allowed them to forge really, really good relationships with one another. Because in the end, we want to win championships. I want to produce NFL players. I want these guys to go on and have success and graduate. But I want to become great men, right? And whether that's on the football field, whether that's in their home life, whether that's in the business world, whatever that looks like. But I have to show them how to do that too. And what does that look like? And so through it all, I really think our culture has won us some games. It's like 4th and 13 in overtime against Arizona State. Can you trust that guy next to you because you forge those relationships? And so I enjoy that process of it all. The X's and O's are easy. The weightlifting, the running is easy. I don't know if it's easy in Austin in the middle of summer, but cracking that code with these guys and to watch them grow from their freshman year where they're really guarded to a 4th-year senior who's been in the program, who's really kind of initiating the charge and being vulnerable right up front and being transparent to show a younger player what that looks like. That's when the real breakthrough starts to happen.
It's not a word I thought I would read, or it's not a word that I associate with recruiting or sports even. That's one of the top 5, but it really seems to have worked for you. You just landed the best recruiting class in the country, according to Rivals.com, which is unbelievable, with 4 5-star recruits. Should we talk about Arch Manning? How are we handling the anointing of one Arch Manning?
With Arch, I would say this. When he first got here, first of all, in the recruiting process, it was the most normal recruiting process. I've recruited a lot of quarterbacks in my time and had some great ones. And they can be difficult. They can be tough. But with Arch, it was so normal. Great family, great home life. When he got here, if you didn't know who he was, you would have thought here's just another freshman trying to earn his way. It wasn't about the name on the back of his jersey. It was, how can I help? What can I do? Can I be a great teammate? Nobody works harder. Not in the weight room, not on the field, not in the classroom, not studying. But what I love about him is his connection to his teammates. This guy gets along with everybody, super competitive, got way more swag than his uncles. He's got the athleticism of his grandpa.
Athleticism too.
Yeah, he's got the athleticism of his grandpa.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think that one of the things a quarterback has to do, and I think it goes kind of unnoticed at times. A quarterback's real job is to instill belief in his teammates, instill belief in the coaches, instill belief in an organization, and then instill belief in a fan base. And Arch does all those things. Like, hey, here he is, and it's not because of the name. Again, it's who he is on a regular basis.
There's weight that comes with that name, and he's
Sure.
like Heisman favorite. There's all these things going on. How do you manage the expectations, because he is young? He loses his ID. I was reading all this, and the expectations that come with being a Manning at this school with all of this. How do you manage that?
I think the good thing for us is, one, he's a grounded young man. He's not a big social media guy. He's not a guy that sits on his phone and thumbs, Instagram and X and whatever we call that stuff now. He's really just about him, what do I need to do? How do I be a good teammate? What can I do extra to get myself better?
Yeah.
But in the end, I think leaning into my experience of coaching a lot of Heisman hopefuls and guys, a couple guys have won Heismans.
That's right, sir.
Yeah, had my fair share of top 10 draft picks. And so
Super Bowl champion.
I think leaning into that type of stuff for him is like, okay, we know I'm where I'm supposed to be. What am I supposed to do next? And it is what it is. When it's like, I tell these guys all the time when it's the quarterback, it's like, we chose this. You chose to play quarterback. I chose to be a head coach. We chose to be at the University of Texas. Granted, everything's bigger in Texas. The spotlight's on Austin. We've got a really good team, so on and so forth. So some of that stuff comes with the territory, but that's what we chose to do. Nobody forced us to do this. And so now let's embrace it and let's make this a great experience.
let's name him the starter. Are you ready to do that? What's the deal?
It'd be pretty tough for me to say he's probably not going to be our starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And he started for us a couple games last year, played really good football. Our first game in the SEC against Mississippi State, he was our starting quarterback. You know, Quinn had been nicked up. And so I think the exposure that he's had, I think he's ready for it. I think he's ready for the moment. We've got a pretty good team. We got a lot of work to do. We're in February, and we got a long way to go till, the fall rolls around. But we're at a good spot to, I think, have a pretty good football team, and it's going to be even better knowing he's going to be the guy for us.
He has to earn it.
He's got to earn it, but I feel pretty good about it.
You feel good about it. Are you going to change anything offensively, scheme-wise? You know, I know the X's and O's come easy to you, but this is a guy you can design some quarterback runs for.
You know, he does. He gives us a little bit more versatility. Everybody's into the zone read world right now, and we always try to adapt to our players. And, the more I'm watching the NFL's evolving right now, too. You see what Jaden Daniels did. You saw what Jalen Hurts did, obviously winning the Super Bowl.
Hat tip to you?
Yeah, you see Lamar and what they're doing. You see what Josh Allen's doing. And so people are incorporating the quarterback more and more now, but still keeping some of the traditional NFL-style offense with it. And so we're forever evolving, but he does give us a lot of versatility to what we can do offensively.
Quinn Ewers in the draft, entering the draft, highly talked about. I work on the NFL. NFL fans are going to watch this. What do you want the NFL fans to know about Quinn Ewers?
I think what this guy has shown is this level of perseverance, right? And that's a hard thing to gauge in the NFL because so many of these guys have it so easy throughout their time, whether it's in high school or in college. But this guy's had to persevere. He's been through a lot. He's been through some injuries. And every time he shows up, and he has always played his best when his best was needed. And so we're fortunate and excited that we had him, but also for his future and what it looks like.
How many invites to the Combine? You said 14?
14.
That is unbelievable. I think we even have a list of them, right? Let's take a look at some of those. Here are the invites. First, I want to ask you, 14 invites. That's a record for Texas, but how many of these guys are going to beat your 4.97 40-yard dash time at the 1997 Scouting Combine? Do you know that I was like, producers, we need tape of this. And they said there was no tape of it.
I know.
They didn't even record the Combine back then, Sark. Do we have any pictures? Did we find any pictures? Well, we didn't.
Anything?
Oh, I don't know.
Look at that list, though. Let's get off me.
No,
Look at the list. Look at the list.
Like a champion coach. What do you make of this? Who do you think pops at the Combine next week that I need to know?
Well, what I like about the list is, the versatility, right? You quarterback, running back, 2 receivers, tight end, O-lineman, D-lineman, edge, DBs. And so
loaded.
I'm excited for all these guys. I mean that. I'm excited to see what a couple guys run in the 40, Jaden Blue, Isaiah Bond. I'm excited to see the versatility of Jahdae Barron and what he's able to do there. So excited for all of them, quite frankly.
Of course you are. I can't pick between your favorite kids, of course. Who do you think trends during the Combine at Indy? Pops off the screen, has a moment at the Combine.
Well, I think the speed always jumps out for everybody. And I know Jaden Blue and Isaiah Bond are going to run great times. They're going to really roll. I think Matt Golden's going to surprise people with his versatility at receiver. I think Kelvin Banks and just how fluid he moves at the offensive line position. Like I said, I think Jahdae's versatility in the secondary. I think Andrew Makuba is going to surprise a lot of people.
Okay, why is that?
Just because he's such a heady player. I think he's going to interview great. But again, I think another guy, Alfred Collins, when they see how big he is and how well he moves, is another guy. So all these other guys I'm not talking about, I'm going to get a text as soon as we're done and be like, Coach, you didn't bring me up.
Just so you know, in the meeting, I said he's not going to want to single anybody out. It's not what he's going to want to do. But I just, on that whiteboard, they just wrote, who will challenge Xavier Worthy's 40 record?
I think Isaiah and Jaden think they have a shot. That's a pretty good time. Obviously, greatest of all time. So that's a tough one.
Speaking of Isaiah, I went on Twitter and I said, what are your questions for Sark? And most often, I've got a ton of questions. What will you be telling NFL scouts who are evaluating Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden?
Well, I think different players, right? Matthew has really strong hands, really, really versatile player, great one-on-one contested catch guy, great in the red area. Isaiah is a big play threat, right? He's a guy who can take the top off the defense. You can get the ball in his hands in short quarters, and he can create explosive plays. It was unfortunate he had the ankle injury this year that kind of held him back the second half of the season because he really got off to a great start. But I think both those guys are going to find a home in the NFL where they're going to be an asset to their team.
Where did you watch the Super Bowl, Coach?
I was with a couple buddies. Yeah.
I don't even know that we have time to go through every player that passed through the Sark School of something that played in the Super Bowl. Who did you had? Jalen.
Had Jalen, had Devontae Smith, had Moro Ojimo on Philly.
Crush.
Obviously had Xavier on Kansas City.
First touchdown by a Texas player ever.
It was pretty cool to think the two receivers in that game, both leading receivers, guys that had played for us in our system. And so kind of a little feather in our cap. It helps in recruiting.
Like?
Helps in recruiting.
It was kind of anticlimactic, the touchdown for Worthy, but when that happened, what was going through your head?
You know, I think it's a sign of where our program's headed and kind of the guys that we're producing and what it looks like. And so hopefully we can keep getting guys into the NFL with opportunities to play for Super Bowls, because that's the ultimate, right, from a player's perspective, if you can be a Super Bowl champion. So for Moro Ojimo, for a guy who I think was a 5th or 6th round draft pick, to have an impact in that game, he had a really good game, and to get a Super Bowl ring for him, I'm super excited.
Which Manning do you hear from the most outside of Arch?
Cooper,
like he has a direct line to you. He's
of
texting
course,
you.
he's a father.
How often? Are you
very, very
from
rare.
Cooper?
We've got a great relationship, and he, I know you know the Manning family well, and they've all got a great sense of humor.
They're amazing.
But I think Coops is probably the best. He's very quick-witted, and Arch has got a lot of that with him, and I think that's why our rapport is so good.
I know I just went out of order, but I do want to if you could just, recruiting is so big. You're doing that. You're going to have to recruit offensive linemen to protect Arch. All this is going on. You're crushing it. I think applications are up at Texas 24%. That is an insane clip. A lot to do with the success you've had in taking this team to the playoffs for back-to-back years. Xavier Worthy recruiting him. What do you remember?
It was a long process. I'd started recruiting him in the 10th grade, and I was at another school.
Insane.
Yeah, I was at another school. I was at Alabama, and we went through COVID.
Yeah.
And that COVID recruiting was so difficult for all parties because they couldn't take visits, they couldn't come on your campus. Ultimately, he chose to go to another school, and when things fell through there, we happened to now come here at Texas, and so it was an easy transition to say, hey, now you can't say we don't have all these other guys. You're going to have an opportunity here. But it was a great process. We're lucky he trusted us with what we could do. If he played in the system and had a great freshman year and a great career and obviously a really good rookie season in the NFL.
Amazing. You've got the #1 recruiting class in the country, which is absolutely amazing. We talked about Xavier Worthy. I mean, what else? Jalen Hurts, should we give him a little love? What was that like?
That was a unique process. His freshman year at Alabama, I was an analyst. I wasn't even a full-time coach at the time. And then, Coach Kiffin gets the Florida Atlantic job, and Coach Saban names me offensive coordinator. So I called a national championship game his true freshman year against Clemson. And it was a heck of a journey, So we go way back. Like, there was really cool storylines for me watching that game. But what Jalen's been able to do in the NFL and watch his game grow and him evolve as a leader and as a playmaker, not only was his legs, but he used his arm huge in that game. But his legs showed up. Those scrambles were huge for, I think, over 70 yards rushing. So highly competitive guy. His dad's still coaching high school football in Houston. So it's pretty neat to see those guys evolve throughout their career.
Who are you rooting for? The Chiefs or the Eagles? It must have been hard for you.
I really wasn't. Honestly, I really wasn't rooting. I haven't met Coach Sirianni. I do have a very good relationship with Andy, with Andy Reid. And so to see the success they've had has been great. But I was, I knew a couple coaches on Philly, but I also know for Coach Sirianni, having been to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, going through what they went through last year, knowing what the Philly fan base is like, which is probably a lot like ours. You're either winning and you're great, or you're losing and you need to get the heck out of town. So for him to do that, I think that's a cool sign to see from a coach's perspective. Like, it's not always great, but if you can persevere and get your team back. And so, and a ton of respect for him. And I've got a really good relationship with Howie Roseman. And so, yeah, he's incredible. What a roster that he's put together. So I was happy for those guys that they won it.
What's your recruiting style? How would you describe that?
I think relationship based, again, we definitely have an NFL model when it comes to evaluating talent. And I think that comes from my time in the NFL with Atlanta and Coach Quinn. It comes from my time with Nick Saban, Pete Carroll. So definitely an NFL approach to it. But at the end of the day, it's different. We're not picking the players; they're picking us, and so you've got to develop those relationships, and then show how we develop you. Every player wants to be developed. They want to be developed as a player. They want to be developed as a student. They want to be developed as a man. And now we have living examples of that as we've gone forward. And so I think parents appreciate that, but most notably, I think the players do too.
I know that this is going to be a surprise to you. I have no athletic ability. I will never be on a men's football team that's about to win a championship. But I do need to be recruited to be a Longhorns fan. I don't have a college team.
You have no college team?
I mean, I went to Mizzou. I abandoned them long ago. So I'm looking for a team. Would you like to
come on? We need you. We need you.
Texas?
You got to come to a game this fall.
I've never been to a game ever.
You're missing out.
Okay, that's
so
not.
This is it. We got
that
to
was
do the
a
show.
very good recruiting, coach.
Well,
Recruit me.
This is too easy. You have no team.
Why should I be a Texas Longhorns fan?
First of all, you get to come to Austin.
Fair.
Okay. Second, we've got a really good football team. We're exciting. We got a great brand of football. DKR.
No starter named, but we're rocking with it anyway.
We got Arch Manning, and then that gives you something.
Are you declaring him a starter?
We'll give you that, Kay.
Arch Manning is the starter of the 2025 Texas Longhorns. Hook 'em.
We'll give you that.
You gave me that. You're
so
amazing.
Now you have to come. There was your recruiting pitch.
Coach, last one for you. My birthday is in April. Should I be making plans to come back since I'm a fan now, to the spring game? Is that
a spring practice? You want to come to spring practice?
Are we not having a spring game?
No, we're not going to have a spring game.
Wow, breaking news. You're the best coach, Sark. And we're just
Well, I think a couple reasons why. Over the last 2 years, we've played 30 games.
Yeah,
and that's a lot for college football. Yes. 14 2 years ago, 16 this year. And I just mentioned we've had 25 guys get invited to the NFL Combine the last 2 years. So we've got a lot of young players on our roster. We have 21 mid-year high school kids that just showed up. And so the development that's needed for these guys to get ready for the fall is a little bit different than it used to be. And so our approach is going to be a little bit more NFL-driven, kind of more of an OTA style early on. And as we grow into more of the scrimmage formats in the second half of spring ball, that I just don't know rolling the ball out, playing the game when we only get 15 practices is the best for us to maximize the opportunities that we get. So it's going to be a little bit of a different approach, but I think college football is changing right now. Yeah. And we need to do a great job as coaches of adapting to college football. And that's what we're trying to do. And I think it's going to be good for our team.
I think fans will understand because it will be good for the team as the college game continues to evolve. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on everything. And the only thing more impressive than what I see on the field is how you handle these guys as young men. It's very cool.
Well, I appreciate
very
that.
Inspiring.
Thank you.